Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
and we have a Jon Howard in the house. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So we have been talking about having you on for quite some time.
Because I forced myself on you.
That's pretty much what it was like.
Yeah, it's true.
You grew on me like a foot fungus.
Yeah.
It's kind of the PJ Severson, whatever treatment. Yeah.
Super hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
With you for life.
So we have known each other ever predating the Eclectic Cafe.
Yeah, no, I worked for you at...
That's right. At
Myers Telemarketing.
Oh,
yeah.
as did I.
I forgot that. You worked for me?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah. Actually, Farrah was the one that kind of took care of me.
Huh. I don't remember that.
Yeah. She mother hened me. She was super helpful.
You and Meta fall in the same pool of people who.
That's right. Because Matt doesn't remember me from when we were teenagers either.
And I don't remember Meta at all. I don't believe her. I think she's lying about her past, even though there's pictures, and I know every single person that she hung out with. I just have no memory of her.
Well, when Meta and I landed our spaceship here and decided to assume human IDs, we were,
It's actually not a bad theory. That might be what that could. Yeah, I was thinking it was witchcraft, but I mean, it could be. It could be that because you're definitely more of an alien than a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you used to work for me at Meyer Associates.
Yeah.
And I, by the way, was the best boss ever, right?
You were very good.
You were kind of weird back then.
No,
but you were in a weird place.
I mean, I was a boss.
I mean, you were still digging the whole pirate thing, but you were really straight edge and stuff. So.
When I first started, my second day at work, Logan was born.
Oh Jesus! Oh God!
Yeah, so
what is it? 28? He just had a birthday.
it was 94.
Yep, 94.
Yeah, so
you remember when my son was born? I have to remember that I have to remember that I had a 94 minivan. That's seriously how I remember. I was like, yeah, my 94 minivan. And then you used to hang out at the Cocoa Moon all the time.
Yeah, correct.
And I remember at one point we had talked about actually doing some kind of coffee shop kind of / art
project. Yeah, well, there was
together.
a lot of artish projects
Do you
going
remember
around.
what it was called?
No idea. Well, I remember there was a time we were talking about doing a spoof on Tarantino films, and you had this image of pulling up on a bicycle, and then the woman would be like, "Where'd you get this bike?" And you'd be like, "It's not a bike, it's a bicycle, baby." Do you remember that? And it was like a spoof on all the Tarantino films, and it was called "Killing Pulp Dogs Named Zoe" or something like that. Was going to be the working title. And there was a bunch of ideas. It was I don't want to be Mr. Taupe. And
I don't remember that, but it's brilliant. And why we didn't do it?
I don't know if it's brilliant.
Why we didn't do it? I don't know. But I think we should take this opportunity to now do it.
Oh, I mean, I guess we could. There was always one day I want to do this.
It's a bike, baby.
No, it's a bicycle, baby.
Oh, it's a bicycle, baby. Huh. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I just remember predating the Eclectic, there was it was me and you and probably Eric Dice, and I remember Little Dave, and I don't remember who else, but we were talking about doing
Carl.
Maybe Carl Desmond, yeah.
Carl and Jason were always in on that stuff.
Oh yeah, Jason too. We were talking about doing some kind of coffee shop idea. It was the original thing that we went, and it was something eclectic. It's very, very.
Is that where the name came from?
Where the name, the Eclectic Cafe, came from, was from that original thing. Because I even went so far as to get the nonprofit status, and all that.
Oh, nice.
And then I think you were there, but we went and looked at the Burlington Northern buildings. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I remember you were in the group, but anyway, but that is where the original Eclectic Cafe came from. By the way, we couldn't be in the Burlington Northern buildings because they had oil spills.
Oh,
yeah.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, there's coffee shops there now.
Yep. Yeah. Apparently they
and a restaurant opening up.
I think it's open. The new pizza place.
The soft open was yesterday, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's another Three Cheers Prairie Bay. Thing. So they're kind of taking over the world.
Yeah, which is fine by me. Their food is spectacular.
Yeah. I love Jenna. So, what have you been up to the last few years?
I work at Good Sam. I just got a new title. I'm senior quality analyst for the Brainerd Lakes area.
Oh, that's way too much.
Yeah.
That's just way too
So
long of a
yeah, I mean, so I'm Quappy John is what they call me because Quappy is the quality assurance performance improvements, the branch I do. So
Oh, I was 100% sure it was an Ojibwe word.
oh, okay,
Hey,
yeah,
no, I
no,
just go with
it's-
that.
Yeah, well, it's a dangerous time to have a Q in your job title though. So
Why?
Well, Q, like
Like the QAnon?
like the weirdos. Yeah, I mean not weirdos. You do whatever makes you happy, but. I looked at the camera with sincerity when I said that.
Oh, that's nice. For those of you who are just listening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have a big chunk of them that follow us. They make up an important part of our fan base.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, no, I do that, and I love that. It's a great job.
So basically it's a nursing home.
Yeah, it's a group of nursing homes. So there's 3 that I look after. There's Woodland and Bethany are both in Brainerd and near each other, and then the Pine River one.
And you've been doing that for what? But
So, how do you do quality control in an environment like that? Are there like combines where the people compete to be able to become residents there?
No, it's actually how we compete to actually not be closed down by the government.
I think they
it's
run
kind
it
of
a lot.
also a good thing.
They kind of run it a lot like Survivor.
Yeah, it is. It
There's,
really
like,
is.
torches and-
They take
Okay, so you
more
don't
and
measure
more
their
money.
40 times or anything like that, like,
No, they just keep taking money away and setting the bar higher for what you have to do, and then see if you can continue to exist. It's
like Survivor.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. I'm hoping that maybe there'll be some change in the near future with the new administration, but you never know. Honestly, I'll tell you, during Republican reigns, we tend to get more money.
Really?
Yeah, like at least on the state level. So, or it's usually bills put out by Republicans. So that kind of
That is
surprises me.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would not.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of counterintuitive
Yeah,
shit.
that surprises me. How does that? Do we know what do we attribute that to?
I have no idea. Well, family values. I mean, it
might
seems
be.
like an oxymoron with the current climate. Oh, I'm a libtard, by the way, and I know I'm the safe place is to talk about libtard issues.
That was one of the working titles.
I know.
Of the show.
I've watched your show before.
Yeah,
Matt.
I know you have. I know. Yeah.
Speaking of the elderly and libtard issues,
Yeah.
I did have one. I was going to wait until like later on, but screw that. So there was something I'd been meaning to, something I kind of wanted to get off my chest, that is related to these things.
That giant brassiere.
It's a bro's ear.
It's a man's ear, or a bro.
Bro, that's right.
Man, I've only seen a couple of episodes of that show, like in the big picture.
That's a
I've probably
shame.
seen 10 episodes of like Seinfeld, and the ones that I've seen seem to have really significant, not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, like the ones that I've seen are ones that are huge, like pop reference.
Yeah.
We're talking about Seinfeld?
Yes.
Yeah.
I maybe have seen 10 of them too, yeah.
Greta's family celebrates Festivus.
Yeah, for the rest of us.
Yeah. No, I mean, like that is a holiday. I think they make lefts on
Really?
it, so not in the traditional sense, but yeah, it's like 2 days before Christmas or something.
That's fantastic.
And and that's not her immediate family. It's a branch.
But they're like, and that's just out of Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan. I was not a big fan of it, though I do really enjoy his like YouTube channel. What does he do? Something with cars. He drives around.
Oh, comedians in cars getting coffee. It's
Yeah,
spectacular.
I like
I've
that.
never seen that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good.
I'm aware of it, but I've never tried to watch it. Probably because I'm watching too much garbage. Like I'm always looking for the next really bad series from Finland or whatever to watch on Netflix.
Troll Hunter.
I love Troll Hunter.
I heard that was good, and I just haven't watched it.
I made it like 30 seconds in. It just didn't do
Really?
it for me.
I got it. I liked it.
That's
I watched
like
it.
how-
I
that's
watched
how much
it
I
by
find it.
myself.
You watch what?
I mean, this is a kind of how there's enough children around here. I can probably have talked somebody into watching Troll Hunter with me. No, I watched it all by myself, and I really
Really?
liked it. Yeah, I fucking liked it.
alright.
You didn't get to share it with somebody like Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Do it. Do it.
So good.
I think you were one of the people that recommended
Yeah.
that. to me.
Oh, yeah. No.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know
Greta
that.
found out we had free Apple TV because of her mini Apple products, and we watched it. I'm like, oh,
I felt like
this
when
is-
I
she's-
felt like when you said mini Apple products, you were not endorsing.
No, I have no Apple products. Zero. And but she has some. And
I likewise. I'm not a. I mean, I will enjoy apple crisp.
I have to interject an Apple thing here really quick. So
we know you're a convert, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, so like I used to only do Apple forever and ever and ever, and I got really pissed off, and I like even my computer, my main computer, which was a Hackintosh that like I had specifically built to run OS X, and like it was a kind of a god machine at the time. I ended up fucking wiping all my hard drives and installing Windows 10 and just being done with it, and lost. I did it in a fit of anger, and I literally lost like some irreplaceable things like
Porn.
porn. A lot of video, though, tons of video footage that I'll never get back. But anyway, Abby got a hold of me the other day, and she's like, "Hey, I need to get a Mac for my job. What should I get?" And I was like, "Just quit. I mean, like it's not. It's just a job. Like,
Is hipster like a career path now? What the?
So she
Artisanal
well, it was
pencil
really funny.
sharpener.
What was it was that she needed to use iMovie. And so anyway, she ends up buying this iMac, and then I went out and helped her set it up or whatever. And then come to find out you can just buy iMovie.
Yeah.
You can just buy it for Windows. But she is enjoying her Mac, which, I get it. I totally do get it, because like they're convenient and they're like slick and they're whatever. They're just ridiculously expensive, and they are built to go obsolete so quickly
and
that you just have
unrepairable. Yes.
they're unrepairable, and they're built to go obsolete so quickly that you can't.
Perfect.
You just have to buy one every year, and it's just ridiculous.
It's funny, when Greta started her job doing landscape design, she was so surprised that the design world had switched over to PCs, because you're doing 3D designing and rendering, and
Adobe just because it used to be there were a bunch of Mac products that were like the bomb for design, and then Adobe, which was a PC based product, they just took over the world, and they did it with this subscription service, so you can basically get a subscription to Adobe, and it's all the best products in the world. But now there's so many goddamn open source programs. I don't use anything that's not free anymore.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say free, like. Filmora is my main editing software that I use to do the podcast, and I pay $40 a year for the licensing fee. I mean, it's free.
Next to free.
It's free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free adjacent.
They're doing it's a very specific software, because it's for landscaping, and it's got all your plants and all your pavers and stuff, and it's all 3D fly through. And they do really high-end design. They just did
But it's all PC now.
But it's all PC, because you want to have just an insane graphics card, and
and you need to update that graphics card every year. But in a PC, you can actually
do that. Yeah.
Whereas you just have to fucking throw your Mac down the stairs and buy a new one.
Yeah. But she was so used to all the Apple features, like only having one mouse button, and I'm like, honey, let me show you how you can program these 25 mouse buttons you have to like do all your common everyday hotkeys. And she was just blown away. She's like, how is that even possible? Then she didn't use them, but
fucking Mac people.
Yeah.
No, I was so Mac loyal for so many years, and it really it was right after Steve Jobs got the ass cancer that that was that was an Eric. Sorry, that was ode to Eric Jenkins.
Okay, so now that we strayed away from it, let me just bring us back to this. The elderly and libtard issues. So once again, the president, Mr. Biden,
He's elderly himself.
He did, who was definitely elderly, did the unthinkable and unforgivable in the eyes of a lot of conservatives. He complimented a young woman who was sitting in the audience when he was speaking. He said nice things to her.
How dare he?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about this. What nice things did he say?
He said her hair smelled really good, and then he licked her.
He was like, and this young lady here, and he complimented on her hair and stuff like that.
He did compliment on her hair.
Yeah.
He should learn by now not to do that. That is a little.
You can't learn when you have Alzheimer's.
And it's all over. It was on Facebook and stuff like that, and they were outraged because he's a pedophile. He's a pedophile because he is comfortable around children. He smells kids' hair sometimes. He's basically he's that old guy, and I always, so many times I've had to explain this to people. Just because you're like, you can like kids and you can be that old person, like they come from a world where like maybe children weren't sexualized as much, so they don't see it as anything wrong to like compliment a child.
I think
like warm and friendly towards
it's
kids.
like your divine right once you like hit a certain age that you can definitely be like creepy, but you can also be crotchety, and cannot wait till I pass that.
Crotchety, super
I want to be
excited.
crotchety.
I'm practicing hard on that.
Do you think? I know you have kids, obviously, and grandkids, and you have
Kids and well, actually, I guess I had a grandchild, but we
absorbed it.
yeah, we absorbed him
Right.
with the adoption.
Okay.
Ha-ha.
Okay, so-
No longer a grandfather.
All right. Anyway, the point is, people I know who like children. I'm not one of them. Tell me like babies have this smell. Like a lot of women like the smell of newborn babies. Greta and I aren't like that, but and they want to smell babies, and they're like, oh, that baby smell, and maybe that's like a thing.
You notice that there is, like, people say that, but you notice when you go and get your car washed, there is no new baby smell that they offer you to hang from your
No.
yeah.
Well, like extracting the process is not humane, so then you can no longer get it in the United States anyway.
I think it really boils
I
down.
bought some overseas.
I think it really boils down to your new baby smell. And I think there's a real thing. I think there's some pheromones that go on there that basically just make us so we don't want to bash it against a tree because it's sucking on our wife's poop.
There's a book about that. Speaking of books, and we've spoken about books a lot. Larry Niven's Protector. Have you ever read that?
No.
You should definitely listen to that. It talks about a lot about how we are genetically predisposed to protect and take care of our own children. And if we don't have our own children to protect and take care of, then we become more involved with protecting and taking care of the community.
Oh, interesting.
So the idea is if you have children, you lose sight of your community.
You literally become more selfish. Yeah.
Yes.
Which
yeah.
makes sense.
So you should check. It's a very good book.
rock it.
Yeah.
We, Kyle, John, and I have a like a group chat going on that's literally like just about like audiobooks.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but I don't
but
wanna
I
jump
barely
into
participate
audiobooks.
because I only read like guilty pleasure books. The last like nonfiction book that I read was that what was it? A libertarian walks into a bar.
Yeah, and you said not as
No, walks into a bear. And it wasn't that great.
No.
But then again, like, why did I read it? It just confirmed it wasn't. It was probably fair, but it just confirmed what I already felt about libertarians. And it had entertaining parts, but a lot of that was just because I'm from a really small town and he was writing about a really small town, so I felt like I knew a lot of those characters.
I don't do a lot of. Is it nonfiction? Is that
Fiction is fake.
Okay.
Nonfiction is not
I always
fake.
I always fuck that up.
That's
So
okay.
the non-fake one, like the last one I read, and I don't read very many of them, but Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. That was an interesting one.
I read stuff that's work related, that's nonfiction.
That you
Like,
read?
Yeah, I usually read. But no, I've listened to them. I've listened to like 7 Habits and Modern Meaning Standard and stuff like that. But also I read, it's by the guy who created and I can't remember his name, and forgive me, it's from India, but he came up with the checklist for surgeries.
Oh.
And it's called the Checklist Manifesto, and he explains the importance of checklists and keeping things organized and
Interesting.
doing stuff. Did you know? Okay, this is from the book. So I think it was the B-52, which was the bomber during World War II.
I love Love Shack.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, no, that's a great song. I also like
Jesus
Rome.
Christ, stay focused.
Rome is one of my
And
favorites.
Rock Lobster.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
I'm
it's
sorry to
okay.
everyone.
The B-52 bomber.
Yeah, the B-52 bomber was considered too complicated to fly, and so that's what they created the checklist for, because there were so many working things just to get it up in the air and do all your things, so they created checklists for it. And that's, kind of where the modern checklist came from. And he gives great examples. Anyway, for a nonfiction book that was solely read for work because it was suggested at a conference I was at, I enjoyed it a lot.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I mostly nonfiction. I just podcasts.
Yeah.
I have a length list, but I don't want to. I don't want to. We just totally glossed over the whole working in a nursing home.
Oh, yeah,
thing.
sorry.
And I
Yes.
do want to just get back to because I think it's kind of important.
Yeah.
So this was a rough fucking year to work in a nursing home.
just kind of.
I mean, not just budgetary constraints,
And there was that.
but also just the fact that families couldn't come and visit.
No one could. You had to screen everyone at the door. You had to test everyone on up to, depending on your county's positivity rate, twice a week, which is the majority of COVID. We were testing all of our staff twice a week.
Jesus.
And our residents weekly.
And it's like, and for the most part, if you fucking drop the ball and you got COVID and you spread it to a few people, I mean,
They pretty much died.
Right. For the most part,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal, or it wasn't a big deal. But
was a big
but in your case,
Oh, yeah.
all
No,
of a
it was
sudden,
super
it's a fatal
big deal. Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
a fatal
yeah.
deal, right?
And so, yeah, there's that. There was, when it first started, you remember the early days of COVID, we had no clue what was happening. So,
Well, we did because we talked to Ange.
This is true.
We literally had a.
oh, no, I saw your show.
Yeah,
we
had a 2-day lead on everybody else, and I was shitting my fucking pants.
No, I mean, after that, we knew COVID was coming, but we didn't know how bad it would be or how bad it wouldn't be. We over prepared. So we had, we took an entire wing of the building, sectioned it off with double walls of plastic.
Okay.
Made sure it was negative pressure, right?
Oh, wow.
Even though that wasn't recommended. But I'm like, why wouldn't you? So
Right. You've read enough sci-fi books,
yeah. I'm not dumb. So and that wasn't tough. It was just placement of the plastic walls, so they were, compared to the intakes and the vents. So we did that, and then, we had outside doors that would only be accessible for that. We had antechambers for donning and doffing of protective gear, and then a double wall into the actual unit. We had a delivery system. I mean, we had it all. We had 7 campers / somewhere like ice houses, the fancy ice houses, parked in our parking lot where the staff was living, so that they wouldn't have to go home and worry about it.
Seriously?
Yeah, we had the college has fire department training, and they have a decontamination shower that was parked in our parking lot, so staff would leave the unit and go shower there. And of course, we had segregated staff.
What if the staff didn't want to?
They didn't have
They
to.
didn't have to. It was just something you offered.
It was something we offered, and I mean, they were filled up. I mean, it was
Jesus.
crazy. We had FEMA brought in some nurses over. I believe it was Memorial Day weekend last year, because it was just so we were having such staffing problems and this was before the current staffing crisis. This was because 8 of your staff or 10 of your staff or whatever at a time have COVID,
or even just have exposure to COVID.
Yeah.
So that's like, I mean, it just cancels. I mean,
in the nursing home, having been exposed to COVID isn't. We can't kick out everyone who was exposed to COVID, because literally everyone was in the building was exposed to COVID once one resident has it.
So that was what I was gonna. So you took all of these really pretty. I mean, I wouldn't say drastic, but like more than recommended precautions, and still,
Yeah.
COVID crept in.
Yeah. Well,
I can relate though. I mean, when gas prices went up recently, I did chase down and kill some people on the highway wearing chaps and a mohawk.
you fill a plastic bag with fuel.
Well, I was actually going to say that, you think you overreacted. You should see Kyle's prepper closet.
It is impressive.
So,
But and despite doing that, I mean, like you said, it still crept in. I don't regret doing that.
No.
And a lot of it was, some staff brought their own campers. We rented a few from the RV place or the ice house place.
yep.
We had because they didn't necessarily have the toilet water capacities, we had biffies brought in for those.
Right.
And I mean, and the fire department, I think, just offered theirs, because we were the first place in Brainerd to get it, which, well, no, technically it was, the drug rehab place, Teen Challenge.
Oh,
got
yeah,
it
yeah,
first.
yeah. I remember that.
But it didn't really show up because it was someone from out of county. So
Oh, right. Yeah, because that was kind of interesting, because they would actually count whatever
County you were from,
county you
yeah.
were from, which was kind of confusing. But
and the rumors I heard is it went pretty rampant through the staff there. So
well, yeah, you're in treatment. You're
yeah.
just banging everybody. I don't know.
that
I don't know.
might happen. I don't know.
And that's a religious based program anyway, so I'm pretty sure they were,
They were being cleansed by God.
Yeah.
They probably felt protected. But,
Oh, we'll get into God.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about that.
But no, that's very, and that's a really interesting perspective because I mean I've talked to so many people who kind of are like, well, it really wasn't that big of a deal, and in all reality, this was the most mild of possible global pandemics that we could have had. I mean, it could have been a much worse pandemic, and my
Yeah.
God.
I hope some eyes were opened.
Well, so do I, because we've
fucked up.
dropped the fucking ball on the
Hard.
on basically what we call, what is it,
Pandemic response.
Corona light. I mean, it was
Yeah.
it was just such a
No.
comparatively. Now that
At
does
least it wasn't Ebola, right?
that
Yeah.
does not. Well,
Thank God.
Ebola, but even just if we just went to the 1812 flu.
Oh, yeah.
Levels. Well, fuck. I don't know. Like I don't know if we could have handled that in this country, taking the
because
way
we're-
that we handled it, the way we handled it this way.
And I'll tell you, okay, so one thing we do is, we drill, and people said we weren't expecting this. So every year we drill multiple times for emergencies, right?
Right.
It's required by law. So 4 times in the last 3 years, we had drilled on pandemic response, right?
Right.
Different things. It was like a strong flu variant or whatever. But we had drilled for this. We had a stockpile of N95s. We had about 1,100 of them.
So you're the problem. You're the reason.
No, going into this, but
That was stuff that Jude had stockpiled.
we were
for
prepared.
years.
We had protocols that we had written because of these scenarios, these drills, this role playing we did, where we had plastic sheeting and we had a lot of that stuff, and we were ready for that.
I wanted to thank you for the cases that I bought from you on Craigslist too.
That's not true.
That was a joke.
Anyway, no. So we were pretty ready. But there's a system in place, and it's if you don't have enough, PPE, protective equipment, you call the county, and they'll help arrange through different places. And
If
then,
somebody doesn't know what PPE is at this point,
oh yeah,
they are not allowed. They're too dumb to listen to this podcast.
That's true. Okay, so you call the county.
You can still be a host.
you call the county health nurse. If they can't get it for you, you call in our case, it's the Central Minnesota Healthcare Preparedness Coalition. That's our team we drill with, right? And there's like 7 coalitions in the state. And then they go up to the state level. And then the backup for everyone is the federal stockpile of all this PPE and emergency equipment, which amazingly turned out to not be there.
To not exist, right?
Yeah, because, someone decided it wasn't important anymore.
Right.
And they sold it to me on Craigslist.
Well, and even worse than that, and I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole, but even worse than just it not being there,
Yeah.
they were literally, the federal government was literally outbidding states for,
That was a
PPE
weird.
contracts.
I remember that. That struck me as fucking weird.
Fucking weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
ooh. So obviously, hopefully going forward, if there is another pandemic, it will be a little bit more
Yeah.
prepared. But
Well, we're still not following the pre-COVID guidelines. Pre-COVID guidelines was if you had like a bad case of, the flu in your building, right? You'd put on an N95. You go into that room, you do cares or whatever you need, help them to the bathroom, clean them up, give them their pills, whatever. You'd walk out, you'd take off that N95 and you would throw it away. And every person would do this every time they went into the room, that whole shift, and the next shift, and the next shift. To do that for everyone in a building for an entire shift or an entire day or 2 days, I think that's why when I told you we had like 1,100 N95s, that was because that's a 2-day supply.
oh Jesus,
Under the original standards. But
so it's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. Well, and if you only have it in one facility, then you reach out to other facilities, state, county, whatever, federal,
because-
and you're fine. But when it's a pandemic, there will never be enough to do that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you have to modify your guidelines?
Oh, you got one regular surgical mask for 5 days at first, and then later it was like one every day, and that's pretty much where we're at right now. But it's a surgical. Well, for our COVID unit, when we had it, it was N95, and it was all day, but sometimes it was multiple days, if I recall. But you weren't taking them off very often, and you were going into other rooms because it's called cohorting. It's you stick everyone with the COVID in one spot,
right?
So you're not carrying it from room to room. Well, you are carrying it from room to room, but it doesn't matter.
I'm starting to think that like resident prepper should be a job title, like at all of these facilities.
Oh, absolutely.
You're like, oh, what do you do here? I'm in charge of hoarding.
Yeah.
I've got a bunker down below here, and
stockpiling,
and there's never enough storage.
So, were you able to weather the storm with avoiding COVID?
No, we got COVID.
You got it too?
Me personally,
Yeah.
no, I did not.
You didn't get it?
No, I am. First of all, I'm not a frontline staff member, right?
Okay, so you are not going into the.
I'm not going into the COVID unit, right? I went into rooms with COVID to help when it would hit, so we had 3 waves, right? And when it would hit, it'd be an entire hallway, right?
Right.
And you got to get all those people out of the building, around the building, and into the COVID unit, right? And I'd go in to help move, and I'd help move, but I was super careful. My hands are still pretty terrible from
Chapped.
hand sanitizer. Yeah. Even though I used plenty of lotion, I managed to avoid it, but I would go home and I would take off my shoes outside, right? Carry them down, go down into the furnace room essentially, where I would spray down everything that I couldn't wash with Lysol. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Then I went to a slim front pocket wallet. Not the brand name you see advertised on YouTube, but because I could sanitize it, because I could spray it down, right? And I'd spray all that stuff down, my keys, everything. Then I'd take my clothes, I'd throw them in the wash, spray down my shoes, and then I'd jump in the shower, scrub head to toe, and then I could feel safe. I could feel.
You were doing like
in my own
bed
home.
bug protocol right there.
Yeah, I was doing what needs to be done.
Well, in my day job, every once in a while, I have to go in and clean
Okay.
up apartments,
Yeah.
and I've been in a few that had bed bugs, and
That's-
it sounds like bed bug protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one who did that. I know,
So you were able to avoid getting it. How about your staff? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, no, our staff got it. We had a grand total of 66 residents get it, 22 of which passed. So a third. We had a grand total of 68 staff get it. And the residents have we've had, since vaccination, we've had like 5 staff get it, no residents, because they did not get vaccinated.
Right.
Because I will say,
but why would you?
Yeah. So our staff is actually, for Good Samaritan Society as a whole, 40% vaccination rate for staff.
Working in a now. Okay, so I'm kind of a libertarian, or wait, did I actually say that? But I'm definitely in pro civil liberties.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you're working in a facility where people are very what's the right word? Vulnerable to this.
Okay, let me say that
you can't make it mandatory.
This is like an industry standard. That 40% is like an industry standard in the Midwest, right? In California, it might be better. The problem is it can't be mandated because
it can't be.
Well, okay, no. Let me take this back. At first, it couldn't be mandated because it was an emergency authorization, and until it has full authorization, you can't mandate it. But then, actually, last week, they said, no, you can mandate it. That's okay. For your workers, or they could choose to work other places. However, there is a staffing problem, worldwide, well, not worldwide, countrywide, in pretty much every field, which includes nursing.
So, if you were to say, okay, guys, you have to get vaccinated, and 60% of your staff left, and they could, because they could go find a job somewhere else that's not mandating
they could
it.
find a job literally anywhere.
Literally, they could go to Walmart and work the
Yeah.
overnights and make more money than they're probably making because it's just the way it is. And then you just wouldn't be able to operate.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah. But, okay, let me... now, I've kind of put down staff in general. I believe that the staff we have in the area is awesome. And I want to tell a story. So we had these people who gave up their life for months at a time, living in campers,
right?
To do this. People who were working, 16-hour shifts, 18 days straight, just in terrifying conditions at times because they hadn't had it yet or whatever.
Well, and also, like, I can just putting myself in their position.
Yeah.
I would be not just so terrified that, like, fuck it, I'm a healthy person.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can hack it, and I did get COVID, and I did hack it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to kill anybody.
Right.
I don't want to be the one responsible for fucking killing.
Well, the people they were
somebody's
working with already
grandfather.
had it, at that
Oh,
point.
okay.
So
Well,
that's good. But still,
but that's not even the point.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill anybody else.
Right,
I don't
right.
want to
No.
end up making a mistake going out in the community and fucking killing somebody else's grandpa.
No. Yeah, no, I get, well, and like I said, a lot of them were decontamination showers and, staying in campers.
Right. It would. So they're literally. I mean, they're working 18 hours a day, but they're literally like never leaving because that's it.
And then, so literally my definition of hero is what that is. And then you saw all over the country people protesting nurses and long-term care people because they were somehow promoting masks or whatever. And I was just like, you sons of bitches,
It had
Can
to be
I
a
swear
super.
on this podcast?
No, you absolutely can't.
No, none of that.
Anyway, no. So, I mean, literally heroes. As a matter of fact, so about 2 weeks ago, 14 of our staff who had worked in the COVID unit all wanted to go to Vegas together, right? They went through a year of hell. They were all going to go to Vegas together for a few days, which obviously in normal circumstances, you'd say, you can't all take the same time off, right? I mean, it was a huge chunk of our nursing staff, but we talked about it and we're like, yeah, no, they absolutely deserve it, right? They have to do it. I'm like, I'll do whatever you need. I'm technically a CNA, so I worked a floor shift, right? And which reminded
You
me,
only killed like 3 people. It was fine.
No, it went surprisingly well, except it was an overnight shift, and I only got 2 hours of sleep. I worked a day shift doing my job, and then I 2 hours of sleep, worked an overnight.
Somehow I'm not feeling bad for you when you're just telling me about these fucking people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I learned I'm a pansy compared to them. They're pretty awesome. And it was like I had 9. It was myself and an RN, and we had 9 residents who were mostly just needed. It was short-term care, so it was like they'd had a hip replaced or whatever, and it was easy stuff. And and we had a COVID scare that day. We had a questionable test, and 2 other people in that unit who had high-ish temperatures, not 100.4, but high-ish. So we had went back to N95s. So I actually I had to shave to wear the N95 because my beard was doing really well. So I just brought home the N95, put it on, went around it, and that's why
you have
that's
like
why I have
the
the weird
semi-mutton chop.
Yes,
A
right,
questionable test.
Yes,
That's like back in the day, like my first HIV test.
yeah.
C+.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Barely
it
screwed
was
by.
just
You're like, it was positive. Yes, I never pass anything.
well, these instant tests we use are actually very accurate. And I've actually, in my experience, they're more accurate than the PCR tests where they shove the thing all the way up your nose, right? So
brain tickler.
it's a swab. You put some drops into a little card. It's like a pregnancy test. You shove it in there. You close it down. You wait 15 minutes. 1 line, you're fine. No, 1 line, you're fine. 2 lines, you're COVID positive.
3 lines, you're pregnant.
Yeah, 3 lines. Well, you're pregnant with a COVID baby with 2 lines, I guess is what it is. So, we've had those, and for the most part, they're very accurate. There's a fair amount of user error can happen. I mean, if you put in way too much fluid, I don't know, the little test strip area will flood and not portray accurately.
But for the most part, you get a pretty good. And then if
yeah.
you find a test that is questionable, you just retest and then.
Yeah. But you have to have once you have a questionable test, you have to get 2 negative PCR tests, the deep nose ones, the nasopharyngeal ones, more than 24 hours apart before you can take someone off protocols.
And people hated those. I mean, they
sucked.
weren't pleasant, but they weren't that bad.
Did you have them twice a week for months on end?
No,
you didn't. Okay, so you kind of get used to them. They wake you up.
I had two. One was at a Center in Brainerd, and I think that bitch, like, seriously, like, I think she was getting like paid to get some actual brain matter. Because she was just like grabbing the back of my head, fucking, you know. And then the next, that one was horrible. And then the next one I had was done by the Army. It was down in Little Falls, and that one they just didn't go up very far, but they had to do it for 30 fucking seconds and just run it around my nose, which is like it is really, really hard not to bat somebody's hands away. When it's like they're doing that, because it tickles so bad, and I'm, your eyes are watering, and I'm just like, I'm trying not to fucking bat them away. But then I was like, oh, I guess the guy with the gun.
I probably can deal with it. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where it really pays to have someone with gentle hands. Like I had figured out which nurses had the gentlest hands and the gentlest touch doing that, and I made sure to go get my test at the time they were testing. Like,
I found a way to numb my face, so
it's like, fucking covered with white shit. I don't know what the hell's going on here.
No cocaine for 6 hours. Come back and get retested. The fuck are you doing? I'm sorry.
Hey, wait! Don't waste that. So it had to be really, really frustrating for you. I mean, it was frustrating for me, and I didn't do a lot during COVID. I mean, but it had to be really frustrating for people to hear this constant blah about like,
oh, it's fake, or
it's just the flu.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And
it was so funny. I'd post things like, because I get CDC letters every week about flu. And have forever, and I have all the stats on that, and that's part of what I do, right? And so I'd be like, last year Minnesota had 94 flu cases. And this is before COVID, 2018 to 2019 flu season, right? Had 94 deaths from the flu.
Okay.
There were days where I'd be like, oh yeah, they had 94 deaths from the flu in last year's flu season. We've had 100 deaths in the last 3 days. And people would argue with me and be like, no, they just mark everything up as COVID. And I will tell you, that is, without giving too many details, I saw examples of someone had COVID. They had been an elderly person that had COVID, had been out of the COVID unit for 2 weeks, died suddenly. And they're like, nope, not COVID. Because if it's like 10 days past your first symptoms, you did not die of COVID.
Yeah. When I do hear people being blah, 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 like it's not real, I'm just like, I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, my dad died of COVID. And
that's right.
It usually shuts him the fuck up.
Yeah.
Now, just because I was happy he died doesn't mean that he didn't, that it's not tragic he died of COVID.
Yeah.
You are making a face like I need to qualify that answer.
No, not at all.
No.
Why
I mean,
would
I know. I mean, do viewers know? Listeners know about...
They fucking better. They think I'm a monster.
Alzheimer's is a terrible disease.
Yeah. Well, Alzheimer's for years. He was non-verbal.
What happened was he was about to blow up a bus full of nuns, and COVID took him really suddenly. So, if you're wondering how that happened, why Matt said that,
actually, that's not like all that unreasonable of a statement. If we were just talking a few years before that, because during that slide, when he was sliding into Alzheimer's, there were times where he was like, "We're blowing up a bus full of nuns" was not out of the question.
Hey, can I get a plug in here for one of my volunteer activities?
Absolutely.
All right. So
is it blowing up a bus full of nuns?
No, it's Alzheimer's related. Okay. So I volunteer for the Alzheimer's Association as a facilitator for a group. We do it virtually now, so we do it by phone, but it is a support group of caregivers for people with Alzheimer's. So if you have a family member with Alzheimer's, if you care for a family member with Alzheimer's, it's a support group where you can get together with people going through the same thing, and you can, share best practices, get get it off your chest. Just get an hour a month away. Whatever.
Really, this should be in person, and they should just get wasted.
Right? No, well, we used to do it in person. Then COVID hit. The reason I volunteered to continue doing it virtually is because I have a group of people from a large area land-wise, and I'm going to be absorbing some from other groups that are going back to in-person. And you have people who can't leave for that hour. It's
Right,
like maybe an
because
hour drive and an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So by the time I come back,
Yeah. Who knows?
Pop will have made pizza in the toaster.
Yeah.
And now the house is on fire.
Yeah. So, but you can just go to the Alzheimer's Association website and find the information there. And it's really good. It's just an hour a month, so it's not a whole lot of time. And Good Samaritan Society pays me to do it. They pay for my time while I'm volunteering to do it.
Cool.
So,
That's very cool.
Yeah, and so I'm doing it from my office and being paid during that time. But
Paid volunteer stuff is something that I was not aware of until like my wife's company. They do and if you work for a company that will pay for volunteer stuff,
do it.
yeah, kudos, because that's a awesome progressive, that's a fucking great company.
Yeah.
Okay. Now somebody's going to be like, I know about a company that, and they're going to be horrible, but whatever. But no, I had never heard of that. And Christine, her company, they do that. And I'm like, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And great. And they should get a shitload of credit for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Good Sam does it. Every employee gets 8 hours a year. Which isn't a ton, and this is outside of that.
It's still, yeah.
So I do a bunch of other volunteer stuff, like Let's Go Fishing and Sertoma Flags and Winter Wonderland and stuff like that. So that's, that's time I can use for that.
All right, stop virtual signaling.
Okay.
Time's up. What are you, John Carlson? You fucking saint.
Fucking virtue signaling. That's another thing.
He does not
No, he does not.
He does not virtual signal.
No,
I did see
but,
the worst virtual signaling ever, though, and I can't say who it is.
Yeah.
But he's a giant person, right? Are we on the same page?
Yeah, I saw that too. I was
me.
like, buddy, you can do good stuff and you don't have to tell everybody.
So
about it
let's
you
not
get
say who
credit
it
for
was, but there was and if there was a person on Facebook who told this very neat story about finding
did a
this
good thing.
homeless person, and a person they used to know, so they brought him out to dinner and got him a hotel. Which, hey, good for you.
Awesome.
Good on
Good
you.
for you.
Absolutely.
Why the fuck are you putting this on Facebook?
Social media. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's like
The Bible's pretty clear that you shouldn't do that. If whatever the right hand gives, the left hand shouldn't know about, that kind of thing.
oh, is this about
also known
masturbation?
as the stranger.
Also, I'm just saying.
Are we doing this? Is it over?
2,000 years ago, they were talking about don't virtual signal.
Okay, actually, very nice segue because I did want to bring up the God thing.
Okay.
So we were Kyle and I were talking.
One last thing about virtue
Oh,
signaling.
Jesus Christ! Yeah.
I'm sorry. For those of you that think anytime someone does something good and is not being a piece of shit, that's virtue signaling. That's not exactly how that works. Because I've seen some of that on Facebook. I'm like, no, that person isn't guilty of virtue signaling just because they're not a piece of shit.
No,
you can be a piece of shit and not.
That person
right?
is guilty of being virtuous.
It kind of
there's a huge difference between virtual.
It kind of shows you where the person that's accusing them is coming from, because they can't fathom a reality where someone is doing something without something to gain.
And you can definitely be virtuous and virtue signal.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. You could be doing nice
I'm not a
shit
fan of
left
either of
and
those.
right. You can be doing nice shit left and right. But if you got to fucking toot your own horn about it, well, then you're a virtue signaler. Which I find fucking annoying.
And a bad strategy, because like we've talked about before, personally, I'm a fan of making people think that I'm an absolute total piece of shit. So anything that I do that surprises them, I get credit for.
So you're
they're like,
asshole signaling?
he's on his way. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that's great. Everyone should
it's
do
like-
that.
It's like,
you don't if everybody if you start with the assumption that you're wonderful, then people are only going to be disappointed if you're not wonderful all the time. But if you start with if people are under the assumption that you're a piece of shit, and then you anything nice that you do is a big win.
You pick up a piece of garbage and throw it in the garbage can. They're like,
Strategy.
look at that.
I'm sorry, strategery.
Strategy. Yes, virtue signaling.
Back
Let's
to
talk
God.
about God. So Kyle and I were talking a little bit before this, and like, I have known, God, I don't know, hundreds and maybe even thousands of people in my life who have like lost their religion. But you are the only person I know that found religion and didn't become a fucking asshole.
Right. Okay.
So what were you addicted to?
No,
Exactly, right?
Because that is usually how people find religion.
No, I found it in a nursing home with people who were dying asking me to pray with them.
Let's step back though.
yeah.
You at one point were a I would go so far as to say like a rabid atheist or a dyed in the wool atheist.
I was.
Yeah?
I was. Yeah. No, I was. Yeah, I'd say I was pretty close to that. I wasn't quite O'Neill level atheist.
Right.
But
you weren't
yeah.
you didn't
I didn't
it wasn't you didn't believe in God, but you also didn't believe if somebody believed in God that they should like die like their savior or anything like that.
No,
you weren't trying to
no.
you weren't trying to like
I just thought they were
wash
silly.
the world of
Yeah.
Christians, but more than silly. Like,
Well, yeah.
stupid.
Okay. No. So to put it into some context, I thought they were dumb and are stupid. Or how can I say this? I thought that because they called themselves Christians, they represented what Christianity was supposed to be. And there's hardly any people who call themselves Christians who represent what Christianity's supposed to be. Like, who's the...
And then they vote for Donald Trump.
Exactly. I mean, if you read, like, I remember listening to Donald Trump speak, and he said, because it was on the public radio and they were broadcasting it, I don't know why, but he's quoting the Bible and he's saying, in 1 John some chapter verse, and I'm like, it's 1 John. Everyone knows it's 1 John. And then I started seeing these Christians change from saying 1 John, 2 John, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, whatever, to saying 2 Corinthians,
right.
chapter 5, verse 6. And I'm like, you piece of shit.
And they were spelling it wrong.
What?
Like, were they getting the 2s right?
I can't spell Corinthians. Okay, I mean, I'm terrible at mispronouncing normally.
Oh, I was just making a joke. I was making a joke about that.
Any easier.
I was just making a joke about like
John.
GWO to TOT.
Oh yeah, okay. John's my name. I can spell it right most of the time.
I'm in favor of like changing the English language.
It's a shit language.
Well, like to just one there, 1, 2, 1, and just because literally it's a spoken language. So in context, you should always understand it, right?
I don't think that makes it any easier because
Totally would make it easier.
There's no context.
It should be a
clues when you see
phonetic
it.
language.
Does it have to be?
It should
I
be.
don't think.
That's how I
you
feel.
lose accuracy. I think you lose
I don't know
accuracy.
about that.
So it's fine. I mean, in some cases, sure, but in other cases, when you're talking, very technical writing, I think when you try to simplify things to, especially the way they sound, you can lose a lot of accuracy. Imagine if we spelled psychology with an S, right?
Why not?
Because that PSI, the prefix, actually means something. That PSI tells us the roots of psychology
Not
comes
to
from
me,
the Greek,
or to anybody else. Like, and when you say psychology,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't see the way it's spelled. Oh, it's
Well,
driving
I
me
think-
crazy.
but-
Hold on. Just keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
The way that we're like divided and stuff,
Nice.
it landed on me. The way that we're, like people are so tribed up, I think we should actually start using different languages.
I don't hate spiders. But I
we
hate
can,
them in my
like really smart people, they can all start speaking Latin or something. They can,
We could do Esperanto. Why not
or
Esperanto?
and like the Trumpers,
Yeah.
they can keep speaking swamp people or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't ever ask them to learn shit. Like geeks, like we'll learn to speak like Elvish or Klingon or some shit. I mean, and we can do that.
As long as it's spelled phonetically, I don't care.
right.
Especially phonics.
Can-
I mean, come on.
I do have one problem.
Phonics can't be spelled phonetically. That's like a fuck. That might.
That's a big
actually
fuck
be-
you.
That might
PHUCK.
Yeah, that's a
you.
PHA.
Yeah. Okay.
That.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, that was not what I wanted to talk about. Did you have something else you wanted to say, John?
No, I know. I mean, we can keep going. We were talking about Christianity. So yeah.
So you were a dyed-in-the-wool atheist, and then somewhere along the line,
Yeah, I think it was hanging out with old people who are dying. You know.
and weren't you kind of asked to become like what is it called?
Chaplain?
Chaplain.
I was a chaplain. I only recently gave that up because of the constraints of my job,
Right.
doing way too much, way more than I used to. And I still kind of do it. But no, yeah, that came afterwards. Obviously, they didn't ask me to be a chaplain, and then I converted.
Oh, really?
That'd be silly.
No, actually, that's actually how I thought it happened.
Oh, really? Oh no.
Which I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed that story, because in my mind, it was like you were asked to do a job, and then in the journey of learning the job, you found like
I see what you're talking about. Let me
But
tell
that's
a
not
little
the truth.
story kind of related. I can see where you got that. So I'm starting to hang out with these old people, and they're dying and they want people to pray with them. And I started as a nursing assistant, and then about 8 months later I moved into the activities department. And our director of activities would get up daily and read from the devotion book in front of the chapel, and someone would play the piano and we'd sing some songs and stuff like that. And I was
Sounds
starting
like fucking torture.
I was starting to feel it, and I had been starting to feel it, and I'm like, I'm starting to feel this. I think I could do that. And I knew I could do public speaking, right?
Right.
Public speaking's easier for me than talking to a person one-on-one. Just because
Yeah, I
they don't
agree
get to
with
talk back
You
at
know,
you.
I know we've talked about that before with like some musicians and stuff, like some people just are that much better like with that little bit of space, but it could be 100 people.
Yeah.
Then they are like boop boop boop, and I mean to me that's
Yeah,
like the opposite of the way
I
that I'm
feel
saw it, but
the same way. Actually, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I just got asked to do some private lessons for jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, I'm not really that interested in doing it. And I mean, the pay is good and everything, but it's like I don't really want to do the one-on-one thing. But I'll do it. I mean, I can stand up in front of 1,000 people. It's fun, but yeah, I don't like. I like a group. I like a crowd. I like an audience.
It's responding, the back and forth response. It's like hitting a ball against a wall, like a tennis ball against a wall. You know where it's coming back to you, stuff like that, as opposed to playing tennis where you actually have to react to what the other person
That's
does.
a good analogy.
Yeah,
good
that's-
analogy.
Thank you.
Let's steal that one. Except
Yeah.
change it to
I'm gonna
somehow,
change it to
some,
something
Not
else.
give you any
some
credit
kind
for
of jiu-jitsu oriented, which makes no sense.
Nerve lock
whatsoever.
on yourself.
I'm
It
grabbing
is
the-
easier to put a nerve lock on yourself, right?
No,
Instead of
it's
someone else. Okay, no,
It's just like
okay.
tickling yourself. Can't do it.
so you were starting to feel it.
Starting to feel it, and I got up there, and I, put a fair amount of prep time into wrote the devotion myself, right? And I talked about spending time with God, and I used an analogy we use from the corporate world, which is about how to time management, right? And so I was talking about time management and finding time for God, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm feeling this, and to the point where our chaplain was leaving, and I talked to my administrator. I'm like, I kind of like to do that job. I haven't gone to school, but I have internet, qualifications, and I've
The
performed
Universal Life Church.
Yeah. Well, I'd performed probably
Who doesn't?
200
That's what we do.
200
I hear what you're saying,
devotions
yes.
and multiple weddings and whatever at that point. And she's like, yeah, it doesn't pay well at all. As you can imagine, chaplains and pastors don't get paid well.
Well, I don't know about that. Like that's always been a big mystery to me is how the fuck do churches just
It
do
varies.
what they do?
It varies.
But where were you a chaplain at?
At Good Samaritan.
Oh, at Good
Society,
Samaritan.
yeah.
So you're in. Like, is that?
Well, so what
Do
happened
people
is she
show
said
up to
you don't
church?
Yeah, we have daily devotional services.
Outside people? Or just
yeah,
the people that are inside?
well,
not during COVID.
not
just
during
pre-COVID.
before. Yeah, outside people. Like,
I didn't know that.
Not like it's usually family members.
Yeah,
you
one would
know.
think like it would be easier rather than like going and picking grandma up and
Yeah,
taking her to church.
You can come to church there.
So
yeah,
much easier.
Yeah.
Really convenient.
Yeah. Okay. So, actually, we did. We had quite a bit of family members. I mean, it wasn't. Don't get me wrong. We have a chapel that holds like 80 people, and it wasn't packed.
So
we had
when
15.
I first heard about that you were a chaplain,
Yeah.
I was like, motherfucker's starting his own religion. He's L. Ron Hubbarding this fucking thing, and I was like, good for him.
No, I have no desire to start my own religion. I would just like Christians to actually follow the word of Christ.
Actually, I think Jesus said that.
Jesus was the greatest American ever.
I love to attribute like really ridiculous sayings to
Right.
Jesus.
Yeah. Don't be a cunt.
Don't be a cunt. Yeah,
Yeah, I shouldn't
I'm
say
sure
that.
Jesus did say that.
Yeah.
It's Corinthians 17:1.
I mean,
No, but so many people have no idea what goes on in the Bible. Like Jesus healing gay soldiers, right? You know, the part of the Bible where they actually talk about abortion, right? Like Numbers 5 verses 11 through 33, where they tell you if, you think your wife's cheating on her, you send her to the temple and you do some stuff and then it'll self-abort if
So-
I'm not saying I'm pro-abortion or anti. That's a tricky issue. I am totally okay with people being gay, though.
we were talking about who would do the
Sorry.
first. Remember I think it might have been the last time
Yeah.
the three of us were in the same room
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Was the last turn several years ago.
Yeah.
And Tharg was there too.
Yes,
and we were
four
like,
of us. Yep.
and it was right after gay marriage was like became the law of the
Yeah,
land.
yeah.
And we were like, who's going to do the first gay wedding?
Yeah.
Has
Man.
anybody done a gay wedding since?
I haven't.
I haven't.
I've been to one, but I
I
wasn't
haven't
in
even been
officiate.
to one. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
If I don't
there-
get one soon, you and I are going to have to get married.
There's an app for that. Actually, I almost married John one time. Do you remember that?
You almost
You
married
proposed to me. Do you remember?
Was I drunk?
Probably. No.
Maybe.
It was when you worked for someplace and you had super good benefits.
Oh yeah.
we
It's when
could-
I worked for a census.
And you were like, "This is fucking bullshit." Tell the story.
No, okay. So I'm sitting around and we've got a new insurance, right? And it's like the family plan, which is you and your spouse. Well, you and your spouse pay X, right? Singles people pay X. The family plan with kids is X. And they had benefits for domestic partners, right?
Right.
But it was $100 a month cheaper than a husband and wife.
Oh,
Who knows? And I'm looking at that when it came around, and we have all these women there, and I'm like, who are married. I wasn't. And I'm like, geez, it says domestic partner, $100 a month cheaper. And then I read the description. I'm like, hey, folks, it doesn't say that being married excludes you from being a domestic partner. So everyone registered as domestic partnerships instead of marriages. And then the
Nice.
next year they changed it. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that part.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
but
yeah.
I wa-
No, it was
and then
great
and I at the
benefits.
time didn't have insurance, and John was telling me this story, and I was like, well, let's fucking do it. And he's like, let's fucking do
Yeah.
it.
I-
So
I think
we
I-
almost got married.
I think I paid like $20 every 2 or twice a month out of my pocket, and like I was emergency room hospital for 5 days, didn't pay a cent. It was awesome.
We really should have gotten hitched.
Yeah.
So
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
there's an app for that.
Yeah.
That's what I want to talk about.
An app for what?
For becoming a Christian, apparently.
Oh no,
So-
I've got several on my
Right.
phone. Yeah.
That was another interesting part of the journey that I thought was so interesting, because I was like, how the fuck do you go from being an atheist to becoming not just a Christian? I mean, that's easy enough, right? You basically just, say, hey,
Well,
I am.
it's
I'm
just a
in.
lot different than the story that we're used to, which, I mean, the story that we're used to is I hadn't slept for 6 days. I hadn't bathed in 2 weeks. I was sucking a dick. And,
that's not what happened.
That's very close to the way I gave my life to Jesus. I'm not kidding. I'll tell the story in a bit. But it takes a little bit of knowledge of the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Which is a big, fat, fucking hard to read book. But
Easier to read than Infinite Jest.
I don't know what that is. Is
Okay.
that the book you just slogged through?
Yeah.
We'll get into books in a bit. But so you use some apps to like help you.
Oh, yeah, there's a U version is a great app. First of all, you can choose your version of the Bible, which can be, there's a few of them out there. Plus, they come in multiple languages, and it's nice because it lets you have someone read it to you, and you can do searches based on various things.
Can
and then
you get like some of the old Jewish texts and stuff like that as well?
I don't think so. I mean, you can. It's Christian based, so I don't think you're gonna find. There's no Gnostic stuff in there, that I've seen.
Will it help you find the part in the Bible where it says, "Fuck the poor, kill that queer, let's go kill let's go kill those Mexicans"?
That's
Corinthians.
That's Trump.
You got to use a book besides Corinthians.
Trumpians what?
It's John.
Yeah.
Come on. You said it. I know it's
Leviticus.
an actual. I know it's an actual book in the Bible.
Deuteronomy. It sounds like pooping.
I kept thinking about that when you were. Every time you mentioned the. I'm sorry. I've been.
Go ahead. No,
whatever.
I have no clue
deal
what
with
we're
it.
talking about now.
We're now spit fighting.
the whole. Like I just wish what you said earlier about I just wish Christians would, and then when he mentioned not like the Bible is, unwieldy or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think that's a problem for a lot of them.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, a lot of them have no idea what it says.
Right. But there's a huge right. But to go from being an atheist to a Christian, I can accept that.
Yeah.
But to go from being an atheist to now a what is it called?
YouVersion?
No, a pastor.
Chaplain?
Chaplain. Right. So now you actually have to know some Bible shit, right?
Which is easy to search with the app.
That's what I'm saying.
If you didn't know it
That's
already,
what I'm saying.
if you're looking for something in particular, yeah.
Right. For the average Christian, I don't think that's a huge concern. They don't know the Bible.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I don't.
No.
I'm sure we may have. Do we have a Christian follower or follower? I don't know. Follower, is that the right thing? Disciple?
Oh.
What are they called?
No.
Does somebody who watches? Oh, John does. So I guess
of the three people that.
I mean, there's my wife occasionally watches, and she's Catholic. I mean, not super into it, but I mean, we say prayers together every night.
Oh my fucking God, that's just so weird to me.
Well,
mean, that's
nice to say it
really,
with
really
someone.
weird to me.
Yeah.
No, just praying. That's one of the parts.
That's the easiest thing in the world. No,
That's one of the parts of it I don't exactly
I
get,
once
but-
heard this pastor say, "Praying's the easiest thing in the world." This is my 10 seconds, if that's okay.
You can have
Okay. So all you have to do is say, "Hey God," talk for a while, and end in amen, and he hears you.
Huh.
Or he doesn't if you don't believe in it. But I'm just praying simple. It's just expressing whatever's going on in your head.
I get it. And I even think that there's actual power in it. I just find it fucking weird. But I think it's partially the reason I find it weird is because I had a really trippy Christian journey. When I was just got treatment 16 to 17, and I went to one of those and I went to this church group for a while because I had the total hots for this chick.
Oh, we've all done that.
My God.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
I admitted to doing it when I was in my 40s.
I was kindergarten. There was a girl in the neighborhood who asked me to go to her Bible camp with her. She was cute, and she had held my hand.
So I go to
I
this.
wasn't very
I go to
Christian
this
of her.
church camp, and it is literally one of those week-long things, no sleep, blah 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 blah. It was and I did the whole thing and was shaking and I don't think I was talking in tongues, but honestly, it's pretty.
I did drink some
people,
strychnine.
but people were, and then finally the guy was like, okay, who's gonna come up and give their life to Jesus? And the next thing you know, I'm marching up there and have this really big spiritual experience. Okay, now at the time I was running around with the O'Neills and all of those guys. So I came out of that kind of in this haze, and was that was it, man. I was totally straight-laced Christian, whatever. That's all I wanted to do. And I did that for probably about 6 months, really hard. And then I started going to Bible study.
Yeah.
And then I just it was so I'm always you want to lose your faith, go to Bible study.
Yeah.
But it really was. It changed who I hated who I was during that time period because I had pretty much turned my back on all my friends. I was super judgmental. I was all of those things. And I know that none of those things are actually what the Bible says. But it was all of everybody around me that was like that. And actually what really kind of turned me back to the dark side was I finally kind of opened up in a church group and told some of my story, which is rough and
Was the beer throne story included?
well,
in
I
that?
didn't exactly go into the beer, but yes, the beer throne story was definitely part of it. Not exactly, just the idea that I had 8 felonies and was, like on the edge of the abyss.
Yeah.
And like that should be a fucking redemption story.
Right.
But let he among you who is not wearing handcuffs throw the first stone.
And so and I got a lot of like they like people were just like, what the fuck, like, because they are all kind of like middle class, like hot chicks anyway. And I was done, and then whatever, and then when you do that little flip flop, and I hung out with the O'Neills and Aaron, God rest his soul.
God rest his
Oh my
soul.
God, he just flipped around in his grave and gave me the double fuck you fingers. But he was more than a rabid atheist. He was like a evangelical,
a militant atheist.
I think the right word is evangelical. Atheist.
I think Aaron was an atheist, a good atheist in the way that like a good Christian is a good Christian. Like he'd talk about it. I don't think he ever forced it down anyone's throat.
Oh, I don't know about that, but he sure.
Okay, not in my time.
Well,
but.
I mean, we would go out and hunt for them.
Oh, okay.
and then get into our, and plus he was like, he had an what do you call it, an idealic, a really good memory. Like almost a photographic memory. So he would go out and he would just argue with these people, and he was vicious and so good, and it was fucking fun. And I mean, I really enjoyed that. But anyway, then through the years, like I've never had faith in any idea of like a force greater than myself. I mean, I pretty much kind of turned my back on all of it. And so I've always said, like I said, I do not believe in God.
Oh.
And then I went and talked to him.
Talk to God.
Well, them. Yeah. The gods.
The-
So
So when you use DMT to kind of storm the ramparts.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But it literally like changed that experience, taking DMT and going to this other universe and having this conversation with myself, with God, with every common collective in the universe. I came back and it literally changed the way I feel about faith and the way I feel about, religion. I mean, of course, everybody kind of sees that their experience is right, but I feel like I understand the want for.
You believe in a force greater than yourself that you can't necessarily interact with.
Well, I don't. I actually So I guess the best way to describe how I think the universe works is that the entire universe is covered with this fungal membrane, and I'm just one part of that fungal membrane.
Star Trek Discovery.
Really great,
Yeah.
actually. And that was post DMT that I rocked.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, oh my God, you're just working right into all of my spiritual beliefs. Okay, so then, do you know Jordan Peterson at all?
Jordan Peterson.
He's a podcaster. He's a professor who you don't do podcasts.
I do your podcast.
Oh my God, you really are missing out on
I do.
You're missing out on a huge amount of content. That's free.
I do. I do other stuff. Like we do, what is it? Paper Street. It's some sort of Milk Street, which is a food podcast. We do. My wife and I.
You listen to them together?
Yeah.
Oh, get her the fuck out of your room.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
No, we do.
Podcasts is like such a personal thing. I think
we do Beck Did It Better, which is a podcast of a friend of ours where they go through the top 500 Rolling Stone albums one at a time, and then we do Armchair Expert.
Oh, I don't like that one. I tried it. One of my friends just loves it and wanted me to listen to it. She said that
it depends on who's the guest.
That he reminded her of me, and I was like, I don't get it. I don't see that at all. Like,
No, yeah, kind of.
You do?
Yeah,
I don't.
David Cross, what?
Yeah, no, he doesn't look like me.
Yeah, no.
I
No,
was
he's
like,
much better
what do you
looking.
mean?
Yeah,
like
no.
the way he talks over people and is like kind of an asshole? I don't think that. I don't get it. But I listen to this Jordan Peterson. So like
Yeah.
I go through this fucking DMT experience. I watched Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
I understand the whole universe. And then all of a sudden I find myself listening to Jordan Peterson do a biblical lecture
Okay.
for like 28 hours.
He's a Canadian.
he's
was a professor.
he's a
was a big
yeah.
intellectual. Now he's
Okay,
just a big
okay,
speaker.
okay.
But he like started at Genesis and we are up to what did we just end with? Exodus.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're 28 hours into this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very in depth, detailed. And I'm like, I am doing a goddamn Bible study.
Oh, that's like I
With
do.
this professor.
Tim Mackey, who is he's part of the Bible Project, which is animated. It goes through all the books of the Bible. But prior to that, he's got his doctorate in obviously theology, but also in Hebrew, and so his old Bible studies are online in the Tim Mackey archive, all on YouTube. And he talks about it, and he'll break down individual words and explain, the different meanings of them.
So Jordan Peterson is, I feel like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Some people fucking hate him, and I get that, but I really like him. But he definitely takes it on more, not so much in a scholarly, because he's not even a Bible scholar.
Okay.
But he's he takes it on as the.
What is his doctorate?
Fucking, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know what
question.
he was the professor of.
Psychology.
I mean, he has a kind of an amazing grasp on when he talks about psychology. It's pretty, he simplifies it really well and stuff. Like he's.
I
Pretty
do
amazing.
believe. No, he is yes, he is. I had to do a little bit of, but he's a clinical psychologist, and
He's the guy. The right wing is always trying to claim him because he
They want to claim him so
yes,
bad,
and he's like, I'm not a conservative, but he's he says a lot of shit that people are loath to admit to themselves and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like he can be kind of abrupt,
but he kind of explains why the story of the Bible is so important and so important in our culture, and why and what lessons we need to take from it is essentially what he says. But people ask him all the time if he believes in God, and he says it doesn't matter.
Right.
He said it doesn't matter.
No,
so they're like, well, do you believe in God? It doesn't matter.
Well, because
Do you
it's
believe in
also
it doesn't matter.
the Bible is also the history of the Jewish people. I mean,
But he's not saying he doesn't. He's
Yeah.
saying it doesn't matter if I believe.
Yeah.
It matters if I act as though I believe.
Oh, I see what
That's
you're
the
saying.
important
Okay,
part.
yes.
But people just fucking hate it when he won't answer the question. And he's like, it's not a question that matters. It doesn't dignify a response.
Right.
What matters is that I act as though these stories are real and matter.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
You mean
We don't
you're a
need-
good person, and
Right. So
Well, that's-
so take the lessons that are learned there and apply them to your life. And I uber enjoyed this series. Unfortunately, he almost died. And then so he has been off for about a year. He's just coming back now. So hopefully he's going to start his Bible circuit again. But
and it's great because I mean, it doesn't matter. Like you can ask somebody, and I mean, but most of the horrible people, in our culture here, like in the Midwestern United States, most of the most horrible people that we will ever come into contact with will definitely identify as Christian.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Like if you go through, walk down death row. Not that I was going to say prison, but just because you're in prison doesn't mean make you a bad person. But everybody's Christian.
Yeah.
And except for unless you're like Islamic or
Muslim,
whatever.
yeah.
But I mean, it's like where we're at, and I think it's fair because people are gonna it's you have to say, well, yeah, you're gonna run into bad people in all walks of life and all but honestly, when I think of the people that I know that identify as Christian that happen to be horrible people, they don't identify as, or they're not horrible people because they identify as Christian.
No,
Just like the probably the most moral and conscientious people that I do know, like atheists and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why that's why I really I love that, I liked your story. And I appreciate that you're a Christian. Yeah. It's good to meet Christians that are Well, I like the stuff that's actually in the Bible.
Yeah,
You know, like
Right.
not this crazy shit like the stuff that I listed earlier. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know where a lot of this shit comes from.
Like, why
How do these
do-
people identify as Christians when they believe in everything that is the opposite?
Yeah. It's like these Christians who won't wear a mask because God will protect them, and then will carry a gun because they have to protect themselves. Like, I don't get any of that. Like, none of that makes sense to me.
I listened to this other podcast.
And I'm pro-gun, but you know,
right, but it's right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I don't also.
Oh, well,
I'm also not a dick about it. It's one of those other. Exactly. You can be
It's
Christian
weird.
and not be a dick about it, you can be a gun owner and not be a dick about it.
I was talking to your friend that came to my police class. Is his name Zach?
Zach, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, I said, he said something about I used to bounce at Zorbers. I said, oh, you know my buddy Kyle, and he said, oh no, it was way before him, but of course I know Kyle. Blah 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 blah. We talked for a little while, and I said something about the podcast, and he said, oh yeah, I've seen he's a little Libby for my taste, and I was like, he doesn't know I'm the other guy on the podcast. And I just thought that it just cracked me up. But then he said, he goes, he's a little Libby for my taste, but he is pro-gun. And I was like, yeah, we call ourselves gun-toting liberals. And he's like, I didn't go with libtards because we were in the gym.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it occurred. But it's weird. So are you? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's like almost everybody I know.
Yeah. Welcome
Or
to
everybody
Minnesota.
who works around in my circle. Yeah. and
Welcome
I
to
guess-
Crow County, at least. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, having a gun is your God-given right. Like, it's your birthright. Okay.
Well, I mean, Jesus said it. So
Yeah. No.
Right.
You know, Jesus was
Corinthians
definitely
1.
a member of the NRA.
Oh my God, that's a great song.
What?
Oh, it's an old. Remember that song, 40 Watt Bob? You know, Mama bought my little shotgun. You know that one. But if Jesus were here, he'd be for the NRA.
I was supposed to go see
Jesus
him last
would be-
night.
Yeah.
I think Jesus would be for the SRA. You know about the SRA? It's the Socialist Rifle Association. Oh no! It's a
awesome.
nationwide rifle association. They're all about guns. They're socialists. They do a lot of work with gun training and defense training for like marginalized groups like transgender or homosexuals or various minorities.
Do you remember after the shooting down at the? I don't remember Miami nightclub.
Oh, yeah,
gay
yeah.
nightclub? Yeah. I think they were called the Pink Panthers.
Oh,
came out,
really?
And it was a gay.
awesome.
It was a gay gun rights group, and they were like there was a run on like pink Glocks and everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but they were all like, "Come again, motherfuckers,"
Yeah.
which I was like, "Yeah, I get it."
Well, and I'm sure you know this. The only time the NRA was for gun control was when the Black
Oh,
Panthers
yeah.
started carrying
Absolutely.
guns.
Well,
Back when
actually,
Ronald Reagan was the
actually-
governor of California.
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty much the reason the NRA exists. Like that whole
Yeah.
thing is all wrapped up together.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah.
Like in my mind, I'm like emptying shotgun BBs out of a shotgun shell
Yeah.
and filling it with glitter.
Yeah. We're like both. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's-
yeah,
you,
you'd want-
you get
you'd
the
need-
glitter in the
yeah.
space between. Yeah.
So I listened to this podcast. I listened to so many goddamn podcasts. I can't even remember which one it was. But it was talking about the Jesuit philosophy and their like the way that they look at things. Have you know
They're
anything
the
about that?
Catholics. I mean,
Well,
they're
it's actually like I wouldn't know any of this other than
okay.
Except you watched Mission.
Mission. So what I know
With
about
Robert De Niro?
what I know about Jesuits
Okay.
comes from Mission
okay.
and Black Robe.
So deep
That's all I know.
research. Deep
research.
Got it.
I just tried to watch Black Robe again.
Yeah, it was good.
It's
I
on
haven't seen
Amazon.
either
No,
of those,
no.
actually.
Well, it was
so
really,
now I
really
feel
good
terrible.
when I
This
was-
is
Oh man.
worth watching.
Well, the Mission is amazing.
Mission
Robert
is
De Niro,
like-
Jeremy Irons. It's fucking glorious. It's
fantastic
Like the most beautiful redemption story I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh, excellent.
Black Robe. It's a little tough.
Well,
But I really enjoyed it the first time I saw it.
yeah.
Because it was brutal. I think the brutality is what I enjoyed about that story.
can I get back to the Jesuits?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Jesuits.
So they were just talking about. He was talking about how how the Jesuits have this philosophy that is really quite separate than the Catholic Church, but where it's basically like it's actually kind of a sports philosophy. It was all worked into the same podcast talking about sports. Really interesting. I'll send you a link to it because it's really worth listening to. But one of the points that they were making was about homosexuality, and the Jesuits are like, this Jesuit that is like was talking about it was like, the Bible like doesn't put any more weight on the sin of homosexuality than any other sin. Like if you're standing in judgment of that, but you're not standing in judgment of usury, perhaps you aren't like. Maybe you need to rethink yourself. And I thought that was a really interesting point. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember Jesus come busting into the bathhouse and kicking ass.
See,
I
actually find this interesting because Lutherans, which is how I was raised, or what I generally consider myself, believe that all sin has the same weight. Like you steal a penny or whatever. Catholics do have a hierarchy of sins, so it surprises me that the Jesuits don't.
Actually, honestly, I don't actually know how that works out. But there are greater sins than homosexuality.
Oh,
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
There are according
Adultery.
to the Catholics, and the greater
Donald
sin
Trump.
of homosexuality.
they had to rank it at one point because
There was a top
because
10.
you had to be able to like buy your way out of stuff.
Indulgences.
With indulgences,
That
yeah.
is true. That is true.
So I mean, we know that at one point all these were ranked. So I mean,
I mean, they obviously had value, or
I mean, they have 7 deadly ones.
yeah.
So apparently, like
7
no,
venial
that's
and-
just from Dante though, right?
eating.
No,
too-
it's Catholic dogma that existed before Dante, but it's not in the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
Like, there's a lot
whole
of.
lot.
I mean, one night Meta and I were discussing the difference between, Satan, Lucifer, and the devil, and all this stuff. And like you start going down that rabbit hole, and you're like, "There's a fucking hierarchy to hell." I didn't have any.
Well,
idea.
that's
I thought they were
Dante.
all the same.
That's all Dante.
Well, it's all like all sorts of.
Clearly, you didn't pay much attention to the first Monster Manual.
Yeah.
Any whoozle. That was pretty good.
Archduke of Hell, all this stuff. I'm like, man, really?
Oh, man, I hate the whole fist bump thing
Oh,
because
really?
I never get it. People put their fists on. I'm like, what the fuck you want? Like, I don't understand. That's what you're looking for.
We're practicing right now.
Ooh,
We're-
good arm. Good arm. Man,
I'm not any good at it either. I'm always like,
what do you want?
Well,
Are
see,
you
I-
handing me something? Like
well,
I'm going like.
then I get
if think
confused.
they're
I'm
gonna
like-
put change in my hand or something.
am I giving you a pound or like is this a dap or what? I mean, I get confused.
My bad. No more fist bumping. I apologize. I was just there was the inner geek. It was a namaste.
It was a solid
moment. The
nerdy
geek and me saw the geek in him, and we're together in geekdom. Yeah.
There was a little geek light.
Yeah, this is the namaste of geekdom. Sorry.
Okay, we wanted to talk about some books, right?
Yeah.
So the three of us, now that Kyle for a long time was not in the club.
So what are you reading, Kyle?
Well,
or
see,
listening to?
I read a lot when I was young, and then I stopped reading because I got older and I'd fall asleep. Between the sleep apnea and just being older, I'd fall asleep every time I started reading a book. Then finally, I took Matt's recommendation and started using Audible, and holy shit, do I burn through everything? Just
importantly, got Jawbones.
yeah, the Jawbone headsets.
Do you use
I
Jawbones?
still haven't.
You gotta do it.
They're amazing, but
They're not a sponsor of the show.
so now
Audible,
they
is
should
Is
be.
Audible a sponsor?
No, we don't have any sponsors. We have the Stay Poor Slow scheme.
Okay.
But now I'm reading so much, listening, whatever.
It's reading.
I know.
Yeah.
I actually read that reading, like, it's okay to say read.
Yeah,
you know.
You read that?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
right.
okay with
That's
that.
how I knew it was legit.
It's as long as it's not abridged. Right.
Yeah. No, I don't do it.
So I even listened to 30-something hours of an author who I decided like after like 10 minutes that this author was fucking horrible. Well,
It's a book
I
you
mean,
paid
his writing was horrible. The weird part was like between, so like every time a book would end and he'd, like the author would come on and, blah, 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 and give his little, like, he didn't do the epilogue, but he did a little, like,
author's notes.
yeah. And I was like, I think I like this guy. I think he's great. I think he
listen
writes
to
like
his
shit.
shit dribble for another
And
38 hours.
It's like in how I felt like I think this guy is like a really decent guy, which is why I'm probably not gonna write what I want to write in like a goddamn review, because really like I wanted to write. The reason that I've never actually written anything is because I am afraid that it would be received by someone the way I received this shit. And it was fucking horrible. Now, granted, there's not a lot of brilliant that I've discovered so far. There's not a lot of brilliant writers out there in the close dystopian / prepper / in that little fictions genre. But I was kind of spoiled by Odd Billy Todd, which I fucking loved, even though there were some glaring holes in that guy's writing.
Have you ever read that one, John?
No, I've
It's really good. It's really fun, and like for prepper purposes and stuff, like it's fucking amazing.
It's a basic end of times book, you know.
Okay, what's it called?
It's called Odd Billy Todd.
Billy Todd?
Odd Billy Todd.
Odd Billy
by
Todd.
N.C. Reed.
Yep, NC Reed.
Okay.
And it's basically a story, you know, end of times comes through, and it's about this guy who's kind of slow.
Yeah, he's on the spectrum.
Okay.
But very well adapted for the end of time.
Yeah,
and it's really
because his folks have
good
always like he operates off lists and stuff like that. So like all the
all about the
care
checklist.
and all the stuff that his the way that he was raised by his parents, who had like died in a car accident a couple of years
well,
earlier.
Jesus Christ, you don't tell me the story.
Well,
Good
anyway,
book.
it's a great book. And I enjoyed it a lot. There were some holes in the writing, whatever. It was weird. Some stuff like it was written from a very like kind of a conservative Christian kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Was it?
So like there's parts of it where that
I
weirded
didn't
me out.
catch that, but then again,
At the same time, I was also like, well, because of how we arrived with them in the first place, like gender roles and stuff like that would probably make a strong comeback in a world like that.
you thinking like if you ever every post-apocalyptic anything, do you notice how like all of a sudden it's all about the fucking race wars? Like, I mean, one of my favorite post-apocalyptic books of all time was The Postman, and I mean literally that first chapter of The Postman, the first page of The Postman.
I bought that. I haven't listened to it yet.
It's a fantastic book. I hope it's
But I
as
did
good
rewatch
as,
the
I hope it's
movie.
good as I remember
I
it.
saw the movie, yeah.
But the first page of it is like almost a poem, and it's so beautiful that like it's just wonderful. I mean, I think but it talks about how it comes to an end. But of course, like it's
Yeah, you told me about that before. All the stuff that they could have survived, could have
Yeah.
survived that, could have survived that.
I need to get that. I'm gonna frame that or something. Put it up in the back.
But
The movie was actually
Mediocre.
an okay movie from a fucking great book.
But see, like this, the really bad one that I started listening to, and I finished it. I don't know why I finished it. Maybe because I paid for it. Whatever. The guy winds up saving the world. And Krauss, the author is like a big guy, like a big name in that particular genre. His name's Mike Krauss, and I was like, well, Mike seems like a wonderful guy. Like I like to hear him. I like it when he's talking and stuff. But his writing is just horse shit. The dialogue was like a fucking 7-year-old wrote it.
Do you pull the plug
It was
often, John, when you're in a book and you're like,
Rarely.
fuck that?
Really?
Really?
There'll be times where I'll take a break from the book and do a book that's a little lighter. Like I'll do a Bob Evers book. Like I took some time to do a Bob Evers book in the middle of Infinite Jest because it was such a slog.
Like you went back and listened to the Bob Evers
No,
book?
it was a different Bob. I did Mavericks. I hadn't done Mavericks before, so I took a pause and did Mavericks, and just because I needed to, it's very dense. It's just dense.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, by the way. It's
typically when I start a series or whatever,
Yeah.
like I pretty much just devour everything possible in that world until there's nothing left, and then cry until the next one comes out.
Yeah.
I started watching Sharp's Rifles, like
how was that?
With no, it was fucking terrible. I mean, like I was like, oh well, because what's his name, Bean?
Sean Bean.
Yeah, he plays Sharp, which looks nothing like what Sharp is supposed to look like in the books. But
Do you have any idea what that is? Cromwell?
oh yeah, Bernard Cornwell.
He's
No,
like
I haven't.
historical fiction writer.
Oh, okay.
Prolific,
fantastic.
and a fantastic
Okay.
writer. Yeah.
On Netflix, like right now, the most famous thing is Last Kingdom on Netflix. and
Yeah,
stuff.
but that's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That show is not
but that
wonderful, but-
series is fucking amazing.
But his most famous books are the Sharps, like Sharps rifles, whatever. There's 20-something
Yeah,
books.
it's about just a British soldier named Sharp.
The guy
okay.
who rises up the ranks and stuff, and it's so Sean Bean plays him in those. But I'm telling you, the budget is low because I'm like, okay, this is supposed to be this pitched battle, where like you've got like whatever. There's 7,000 redcoats marching towards like 10,000 Frenchmen, and I'm like,
Best show.
and you could afford 9 dudes.
Yeah.
And you know what
It
they
was
should have
rough.
done? You know what they should have done? They should have roamed it. That was the Rome.
Yeah.
Rome
Avoid
is,
that shit.
Rome
Avoid
is
the
the
battles.
best. Is the best show
It's very good.
that ever was able to completely avoid epic battles. Because it's all about epic battles.
and epic
you
battles are nice, but at least you didn't drop the ball.
never see one.
Yeah.
Because they're like, let's charge, and then the next thing they're out back and they're like, that fucking sucked.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like it's like, but they know they don't have the budget to like
Yeah.
show that epic battle. So just fuck it, skip it before and after.
Yeah.
I love the way
Yeah.
they did it.
Yeah. But
been
anyway,
meaning
so
to
that was horse shit. That one that you recommended that I recommended to me, that was good.
0 Day Code, yeah, I
Yeah.
really
Oh
enjoyed
yeah.
that one.
You
It's a
told me
free
about it.
one.
I haven't read it yet.
It's a
but,
free one.
yeah.
I really the thing I just really liked about it. I really liked the way that the bad guys attacked the U.S. I mean, I mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah, I
but
think
one
we've
of their
talked about it,
one of
yeah.
their attacks was that they launched this multi-prong attack. But one of the things that they did that was just fucking
Evil,
diabolical
Sinister.
was they changed all the relationship statuses on Facebook.
Yeah, he told me about that. That
Of
was
all the
fantastic.
military
Yeah.
officers to it's complicated. And I was just talking to Meta about that. She was like, "Well, that would be fucking it." I was like, "It's an
That's
attack."
the thing. That's why
That's
it's,
it.
I said, she goes,
That's
"I don't-
why it's brilliant."
I don't give a fuck who did it. I was like, okay, all right.
especially if somebody's trying to get a hold of you, like, hey, we
Apparent-
need you here right now. I'm
apparently-
sorry, man. I'm dealing with like, oh, there's another message. Oh, there's another message. Oh, I missed a call.
Apparently, it would be a good attack.
I gotta read that.
It was fun.
I watched a documentary on. I think I bought it on Amazon because my uncle had told me about the 0 Day exploit used against the reactors in Iran, where
Yes, that's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
where the
yeah,
name of it comes
yeah.
from. Could you remind me though? 0 Day.
0 Day means I believe that there is a bug that exists in the programming that's exploitable. So it exists from day 0. I believe that's
Okay, yeah,
my understanding
right.
of it. So
They talked about it in the book, but
so I think it was a theoretical program built by the U.S. by the CIA or something, and then Israel got a hold of it and modified it, and so it was spreadable, and that's I think how they found it. So it got into the computers that ran the what do you call those? The centrifuges in Iran for processing yellow cake.
yeah, I think
and
did
they
talk
just
about
got
that.
them spinning in such a way, and so they just tore themselves apart.
Melted down there.
Well, we didn't melt down. No, it's so they centrifuges spin to separate the yellow cake, and so it would just it's imagine if you take a drill and you just keep going fast, slow, reverse, whatever, and you just did that with a high and very sensitive centrifuge that could spin at ridiculous speeds until it just ripped itself off its footing.
Now that you use the drill analogy, Matt's like, I'm going to go to the shop after this, and I'm gonna.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what? Go ahead.
well, then I jumped right out of that genre because
yeah.
I was sick of it was really hard to find good stuff in that genre.
There's not a lot. No.
And went to Orson Scott Card.
Oh,
And because I've always loved Orson Scott Card, and not just like I'd read other stuff before I read Ender. I don't know how that happened, but so Ender's Game was fucking amazing. Even that movie was pretty good, but so
Yeah, it was all right.
that series. What did I Smith? with Red Prophet and all that shit. It's a 6 or 7 book series, and I've just been devouring that.
Yeah. Have you read a lot of Card?
I've read the Ender, like, not even the whole series. I've read
We were just talking about
the
that.
original and some short stories.
Right. Because once after Ender's Game, it just goes completely like a different direction, and it's like 300 years later.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. I think I might have started reading the next one and then just given up on it or
Right,
something.
a lot of people did.
Because I
liked them all,
as
but
much
I
as I love the book, I was like, why didn't I ever read the rest of those?
So-
Unless it was like right at the point where I discovered drugs or
Have
something.
either of you ever heard of the Card book Past Watch, The Redemption of Christopher Columbus?
I've heard Shannon O'Neill told me about it.
Yes,
and I was
actually.
trying to figure out what it was called because I really wanted to read it.
Yep, and it does exist on Audible. Past Watch, The Redemption of Christopher Columbus. It's one of the best books I've ever read. I read it like probably 4 or 5 times 20 years ago. Well, yeah, because it was one of those that I was just like, I just needed to like reread it because it was complicated.
And it's a card book?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't want to give too much of it away, but essentially, it's relatively relatively couple hundred years in the future, and shit's going bad, and they need to like do some time travel to like try to fix it. It's very interesting.
Nice.
Let's see, in this one, like I think you'd like this one. This is like an alternative history, and it I think right around the year 1800 is like where the most of this takes place.
So,
But people
my
are-
alarm just went off.
Oh,
My
is
alarm
it
just
4?
went- Well, it's 3:45, so we
Okay.
we do have to wrap.
wrap
We
it
have a
up,
couple
okay.
of things we need to finish up.
Okay.
But did you want to say anything else about Card?
Just about those. So one of the coolest things about it is like all these like traditional tribal like cultures and stuff with like their magic is real. People are born with like these, they call them knacks. People are born with like these little like kind of supernatural gifts and stuff. And anybody like that they caught like in England and stuff, anybody that was caught practicing witchcraft in like for hundreds of years was deported to the New World. So basically, the rest of the world, not so much magic, but
Yep.
in the 13 colonies,
Yep.
a lot of magic.
I actually remember those books now.
And they're like
And
Tecumseh's
those
a
are
major
all
character and
books that
stuff.
I
and it's-
read back in the day. I read a lot of Card.
Man,
because
well,
it was the O'Neills,
dude,
like they, you know.
Well, even like remember Hammer Slammers? Did you ever like the mercenary, like that space age, like the space tank armored division mercenaries and shit like that? Like
It all tickles my
Was
brain.
was that card too? Or-
I know, I think it doesn't seem like his style, but then there were collections of short stories. I don't know if maybe he edited them or something like that. Edited those, or but I thought
He did
those
edit
were-
a whole bunch. Yep.
Man, so
Okay, what are your Audible recommendations?
Okay, so if you haven't read them, the Expeditionary Force, which
Yes.
we both read,
Super great.
the Bobaverse, or also
Well, let's give him a
known
little description. So, Expeditionary Force is about an alien invasion on Earth.
Yeah.
And the guy who has to save the planet is regular Joe.
Yeah, and literally called Joe. And it's really good.
I don't want to give anything away,
Yeah.
but he ends up taking a Barney truck that is like has
like
Barney the dinosaur
yeah.
on it, and like
Capturing an
saves
alien,
a bunch of
yeah,
people,
yeah.
and then that just leads down this fucking
15 books,
18 book series
It's still going.
That's
yeah.
still going, and then one other like tiny little thing that we got to give away because it's called the Skippyverse.
Beavers. Yeah, there's an AI, the elder AI from the original race that inhabited the galaxy.
That is
that's
the size of a beer can.
yeah.
And is a sarcastic fucking asshole.
This is the humorous humor break in it for sure.
But
yeah.
also,
The show's a little bit like-
humorous.
it's also the magic button.
it sounds like this
yeah.
author was a big like Douglas Adams fan.
It's,
He was.
it's very Douglas Adams.
Also, he was a first time author.
Self-published on Amazon.
Self-published on Amazon, didn't get picked up. Finally got picked up by Audible, and the guy who read The Martian, R.C. Bray,
Yeah.
who is like just a fantastic.
The Martian is free on Audible all summer.
The Martian is? Oh my God!
yeah.
If you haven't listened to that, fucking listen
Yeah.
to it. It's fantastic. All of his books.
Also, Artemis and
Artemis.
Hail Mary, new out and fantastic.
We're spending too much time
Okay.
on each book. But I just want to say,
Okay.
what was the last part of it? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna just do one plug. Infinite Jest. So
Okay.
it is. Like I said, it's a slog. It's the most beautifully. The writing is beautiful. The story is discontinuous. It's kind of all over the place, and it doesn't really come together till late in the book, and then only sort of. But it's the writing's gorgeous. Sometimes it's super dark. David Foster Wallace, who wrote it, ended up committing suicide. And like when you read it, there's times where you're like, yeah, of course this guy committed suicide. He had a real sad, dark view of portions of humanity.
God, I tell you, I don't think you're selling it, John.
Yeah, no, but it's so well written. It's like Breaking Bad. I tell people about Breaking Bad, and I'm like, listen, Breaking Bad is like the best character development I've seen since Shakespeare, right? And
better than Martin.
It's close.
Well,
It's close.
I would.
Okay, job.
I mean, did you just say Martin did an okay job?
Martin did. I mean, there's only a few of the characters really develop, and who knows?
We are talking about the books, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Like, but through the books that are published, there hasn't been that much development.
Are you kidding me?
There's been
Jamie Lannister.
Jamie Lannister, yes.
Like
yes,
there has never
yes.
been. That is
that is the gold standard.
Like
the golden hand standard.
The golden hand standard, very good. But that is like the.
He's the easiest one to point to in those books. But I mean, like
the zenith.
Sansa Stark, and
the Arya,
Hound
kind of, but she was kind of, you could argue, headed in that direction.
Yeah, the Hound is an okay
Hound's
example.
an okay example, but that's based on.
But Jamie Lannister went from I fucking hated him, and then at the beginning of chapter 93, it says Jamie. And I like literally shut the book and was like, "Fuck you, Martin! I'm not reading it from Jamie's perspective. You can go fuck yourself." Oh God damn it! And then now become my favorite character. Yeah. And it wasn't like a switch was flipped.
Yeah.
It was an arc.
Yeah, they're definitely arcs. They are for sure.
But I totally agree with you on Breaking Bad. But that was a television show.
Yeah, right.
But as a television show.
It's a great arc.
I know you can't handle it.
I might start rewatching it.
Oh,
I mean, instead of watching
so
a lot of shitty shows that I know are going to be shitty and I stick with and watch them for the duration.
Right.
I should just watch that again.
Yeah.
Just take your ball gag and put that fucker in and just sit there and just like watch it.
There are slow times. Like there's more episodes than there needed to be. I
don't think so. I do. I think it was perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I mean, because I gave it 2 seasons before I bailed out.
Yeah, and I've said before, if you've given it 2 seasons and you still didn't like it, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I know some of the shit you've watched. You should you're doing yourself a disservice to not follow it through. Has the best ending of any television series of all time.
Even better than the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Wait,
shut up. No.
Second best.
It's spectacular. It is. The last season.
Yeah, we can't even talk about it, but it's so good.
Okay, I will watch it.
That is a hell of a character arc, right?
I will watch that before I watch Better Call Saul.
But my point is, Infinite Jest is the writing is beautiful. Beautiful.
And and Better Call Saul is good too. And I don't think
which takes place earlier, but
kind of takes place. It takes place both before and after.
Both, yeah.
Pretty well done, but it's not as good.
It's more humorous. It's more humorous. It's less dramatic. Yeah, for sure. And.
So, any other book recommendations?
I loved Cryptonomicon, and you tried it.
I think I listened to about 6 hours of it.
Yeah, and it's a big one. It's
and I was
good
like
24 hours.
Very confused about what was going on.
Right, because it has
I kind
two
of understand the two
timelines that
timelines
converge. Yeah,
I didn't return it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you can return an audiobook. That's one of the cool things.
I did not know that. I'm going to totally return. In fact, can I light it on? Can I take a shit on it and light it on fire before I send it back? Is that even possible in this format?
Yeah, but it would wreck your phone.
Yeah, you're right.
But
assuming I have not done that already with this phone.
Cryptonomicon was great. Snow Crash, which was by the same author, was good in a different way. It's more of your traditional William Gibson cyberpunk with a lot heavy dips into Sumerian theology, and
it sounds like it's right up my alley, but
Snow Crash. No, that's Snow Crash. That's a different
one. Maybe, but the Nomicon one. Maybe I didn't like the reader. Maybe the reader wasn't given. There are some times I have a really hard time with readers, and it
I don't like it. He does some voices that I don't care for. Like he does the Marine. His voices.
One of your two of your recommendations, though, the same author. That I am so grateful.
Artemis and Hail Mary.
Artemis and Hail Mary. So it's The Martian, Artemis and Hail Mary. Same author, completely different
readers on all
completely different readers and completely different universes. Like,
Yeah.
basically The Martian takes place in our timeline.
Yeah.
Or, well, I guess they would maybe all be in our timeline, but all over the place.
Yeah.
So fucking good. But Hail Mary is probably one of the best.
It's very moving.
It's maybe one of the best standalone books I've ever read.
Yeah, I could say that. And
Because
it's
there's many books that I liked more.
I think I'm going to listen to
they're
The
all in
Martian before
series.
I start in on.
Did you watch the
Wild
movie The
Cards.
Martian? Did you watch the movie The Martian?
I did. Is that going to interfere?
Well, it's
See, I haven't actually read the book. I saw the movie. I didn't bother reading the book because I saw the movie and there was a bunch of other books I had to read. So
it's worth listening.
It's worth
to.
listening to.
But it's not essential because it's the same fucking story. But he's a wonderful writer, and R.C. Bray is a amazing narrator.
For
It's
sure.
a super fun book to listen to. It's a book where I was like laughing out loud pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to a lot of super funny ones. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I mean, Maverick.
Yeah, Skippyverse,
The
yeah.
Skippyverse is great.
I would say there's a fair amount of humor in the Bobiverse.
What was the other one? The Bobiverse. So that is, what's the name of that series?
It doesn't really. The first book was We Are Legion.
We Are Legion. Yes, that's
Oh,
what
it
you
was
need to
We Are
look up.
Legion. We Are Bob.
We Are Legion. We Are Bob. This is another just fucking fantastic universe that is so wacky out there, but all very
Very hard science.
very hard science and whatever. And it kind of takes on the have you ever like done the mind experiment? Like, what happens if they were to take like a snapshot of my cerebral
If they
cortex
downloaded my brain,
and
yeah.
download my brain into like
a body that would live, or a machine that would live forever.
Is that me? Is that me now? And then it expands that.
And then if that technology exists, what sub-technologies would that spawn?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And there's some real good D&D in there.
Really?
There is.
Right?
There is. Yeah.
I was listening to that.
I forgot about that.
And I was like, oh my God, Kyle fucking loved this.
Well, and that's how
What
I
is-
found
and
out
what
about
is
the
this?
Skippyverse. That's
It's called We Are
Bob-
Legion, We Are Bob.
Yeah. And there's like 4 books. The first 3 are like under 8 hours, and the third one's
which to
regular
me is
size.
minus sign.
Yeah, is a minus sign for
sure.
Yeah.
Like
But
so this is like how much I took your recommendation.
Yeah.
I purchased a book that was less than 8 hours.
Right. Yeah,
And I was like-
normally avoid that just because
I was
of-
like,
I want my
dude,
money.
this is not a good
Yeah.
return on my investment.
But it's really good. And I'm listening to it multiple
Okay,
times.
excellent.
Because it was really,
Yeah.
it was good. And it is really the kind of, it's such a fun listen that you can really just pop it up.
I think I've
Yeah.
listened to the first book probably 3 times.
I've
now.
listened to all the Skipiverse stuff,
Yeah.
but I just listened to all those.
Yeah.
I don't really have a recommendation, but I just have to confess something.
What?
I just finished, I think it was like 12 books, and there was a 3-book omnibus on what does omnibus mean? Big
Collection.
collection.
It
Omnibus
should be.
That was
should be called a trilogy.
That horrible
It should be a
30-hour slog
complete
was.
collection.
Yeah, but it's not the complete collection.
Yeah,
but
which-
whatever.
yeah.
It was. It's called fuck. I don't even want to say it. It's called Blood Dragon, and it is a young adult female romance sci-fi fantasy book. And I listened to this. I listened to these 3 books. They were fucking great, and then I kept going, and I just finished like book 12, I think, and they're all like 10 to 16 hours long. And okay, but Jesus Christ, I know it's a romance, but it's really fucking cute, and they like are they're really good characters. I'm not ashamed of it at all.
All right, I'll make one more
I
recommendation.
feel like
on-
this should be a Twitter video right now.
no, go ahead.
Oh, no,
Twitter
that was
video. Oh no, we did talk about Protector, and I think the Known Space books is Larry Niven, the Known Space books, of which Ringworld was included, and the first Ringworld's good. The latter ones were written later in his career, where he's more obsessed with his penis and sex and stuff. But they don't. I don't know. He's kind of losing it, I think, as he ages. But the original, the earlier books in the Known Space series, including there's like Essential Trees, Planet of Taffs, and it's particularly Protector.
That known space. That's
yeah,
the name.
Yeah,
of
and that was the first time I saw a really good battle, like space battle, where it was like the guy was like a light year away, so you'd fire your lasers and you'd have to predict what he would do, and he'd have to predict what you would do. So if you can hopefully hit him with the laser when it gets there a year later.
It's something like that you don't think of is that. Like, there was a part in the last Bobaverse where they talk about the thing that you got to keep in mind in this battle is the speed of light. And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, the speed of light's really fast. I get it." No, you don't get it.
The speed of light's really slow.
The speed of light's really slow. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. What the fuck was I gonna say? Shit, I had it right on the tip of my tongue. Okay, we really have to wrap.
Audible is reading my mind, by the way.
Audible is reading your mind. Is it starting to give you like?
Well, it gave me a. I was thinking about starting listening to some Harry Turtledove. Who I used to really enjoy, and I was like, I haven't fucking read any Harry Turtledove in a long time. He was fucking great, like another great like alternate history. And fucking sure enough, like I'm thinking about it. The next day, I'm like,
I don't know.
Harry Turtledove's got a new book on
It's
Audible.
owned by Amazon,
They
so
give
I would
me the
assume
worst predictions. Like I
actually,
do a lot better.
I was almost thinking like,
where's the
Netflix?
Netflix?
So that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, Audible, you need to give me a search thing where I can type in 3 different books that I like.
Yes.
And then that will give me a trifecta of books. Like, come on. How fucking hard is this?
Or
probably really fucking hard.
I remember when I first
But you're super scientists.
Netflix years ago.
I remember
you
what I had
rated
to say.
a bunch of movies and then it would predict based on
So which sounds more reasonable.
You still have not listened to The Expanse.
I haven't listened. No, watch the shows.
I know you watched the show and you really liked it, but knowing how much you
it's on my to-do list.
How much you like hard science books, I'm telling you,
it's on my to-do list.
They're the best. They're the best
and
I've ever
Caliban's, was that the first one?
Leviathan Wakes?
I fucking can't remember. There's 8 books. There's 8 books so far.
Cinnabon Burn.
And I just they're some of my favorite books ever. I mean, they're really, really good.
Right now, I'm trying to do Gravity's Rainbow, but I'm getting stuck. It's Thomas Pynchant. It's
let's not talk about shit. I have one tiny more thing, and I just wanted to talk about it because we kind of promised we were going to talk about it, and people are probably curious. So the last episode, Kyle and I talked a little bit about the idea that I was going to be starting a law enforcement specific jiu-jitsu class, and I just want to announce that has happened. Last Thursday was my first class,
and Matt got his instructor stripes.
Oh yeah, I was promoted to professor. Please don't call me that. I said that to my guys. Brock came up and all that means, for those of you who don't know, who the fuck does? It's complicated. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, once you become a black belt, you can be a black belt for 10 years and never become a professor. But when you getting your professor stripes, it essentially means you're now trusted to promote other people is what it means.
You've now got the glow.
Yeah. It's kind of like the cape and scepter, and another one for King. Okay. And the class went fucking great. Like really good. We had like 6 police officers there and then a couple of other guys that just from the gym. And I just think I really, really hope that it catches on the way that I want it to. But I just know that if the people that stick with it are gonna have good results. So
this was the whole thing. I think I've talked to you about this, or maybe I just watched the podcast where it was jiu-jitsu training allows for more safe arrests.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I heard about that.
It's basically just learning how to like control your opponent without hurting them is what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is all about. It's what we do all the time. Now, there are some modifications you have to make when you're talking about law enforcement because, number one, there's some legal restrictions. And they're pretty restrictive especially on Minnesota police. And, I mean, I understand why those restrictions came up. I just 100% disagree with them. But whatever, we have to work inside the law. So you can do no neck restraint in any way, shape, or form, which I get that. But choking somebody is I get why it came, but unfortunately, it's super unfortunate because if you actually know how to apply a choke, it's the absolutely safest way to I don't want to say, when I say disable, that sounds like I'm saying like hit him in the head with
incapacitate.
Incapacitate. That doesn't sound right either.
Yeah.
But make them go sleep.
Yeah.
Without hurting them.
Tend to their safety and the safety of the people around them.
It's like
also, if you want to bounce, you should also think about jiu-jitsu. Don't think about it.
This would be a good class for bouncing, because it's a lot about like controlling your opponent from stand-up position. But yeah, I mean, it's 10,000 times more safe to choke somebody unconscious than to tase them. Yeah. Do you remember back at the Eclectic Cafe when you thought you could, because you were really good at holding your breath?
You choked me out. Yeah,
you said you could hold your breath for 3 minutes.
I'm like, I can hold my breath. Well, a minute. I know I can hold it for a minute. I made it like 10 seconds in a choke.
No, you didn't make it 10 seconds.
I made it like 3 seconds in a choke.
I don't remember what we bet. It was some minor thing. But I was like, there's no chance that you can hold, that you can go to sleep within 10 seconds of this show. And you were like, and you went,
It turns out that the blood's not going to the brain. It's not about the oxygen.
Explained that up front, but he didn't. Yeah, it's an instantaneous knockout.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you're interested in checking that out, it's every Thursday at 6:15. If you're in law enforcement, if you're a bouncer, if you're a first responder, or work in corrections, or if you just want to come and like figure out how to fuck up cops. No, I'm just kidding about that. But or if you just want to come and check it out, it's just like every other Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. It's open to everybody who's a member of Takedown, and I think it's really important, and I really hope it takes off, and it's going to.
Right on.
Anything else? This was super fun.
Yeah. I know. I feel bad that I have to go.
You know what? I'm pushing the to be continued button.
I like it.
We would love to have you back on.
Come back.
Yeah, we've got so much more stuff to talk about. Obviously,
much longer list than we got through. So good.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks for having me.
We will talk to you guys next time.
I got the blues so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. You know I'm feeling so much better I could cakewalk into town. I woke up this morning feeling so good, you know I laid back down again. Throw your big leg over me, mama, I just might not feel this good again. My baby, oh my baby, I love the way she walks. When my girl gets sleepy, I love the way she baby talks. My work done got scarce, honey, all my work, it done got hard. I spent the whole day stealing chickens, mama, from the rich folks' yard. I got the blues so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. Now I'm feeling so much better I could cakewalk into town. I wanna go on a picnic in the country, mama, and stay all day. I don't care if I don't do nothing, just while my time away. I got the blues so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. You know I'm feeling so much better I could cakewalk into town.